אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל. 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 בכל עת ובכל שעה. בכל עת ובכל שעה. בכל עת ובכל שעה. בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל. המברך את עמו ישראל. It's going to be hard to get set up.
We'll take a moment now to...
I hear you. No, I thought I heard you.
Because I'm talking loudly. I'm projecting.
Should do that more often.
We take a moment now to turn our thoughts and prayers to those who need healing of body, or mind, or spirit. In just a moment, we will lift our voices as we sing together Misha Barak for a while. You can find the words on page 371 and read them. Before we sing together as a community, if you'd like to stand or get my attention and share aloud the name or names of those for whom you are praying the Shabbat, I invite you to do so now.
Nancy Fine and David Summer.
Carol Hansen.
Jeff Brown, Janet Hall,
Daniel and Sophia Silva.
Esther Malcolm, Leventhal, Kathleen Leventhal.
It's Colleen Profanato and Tammy Saligator.
Marty Herman, Tamar Davidson, Ronell Cinco, Pat Wade.
There's Tom. There's Tom and Peter Ron. For those names, those whose names we hold in our hearts, we pray together.
May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Bless those in need of healing with refuah the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Baruch atah Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed are you, God, whose healing presence is with all those in need. Amen.
I don't know why I keep on trying to turn on my microphone here.
No, please do, because it's actually going through the streaming
Oh,
and,
okay,
and
well,
recording. So
Okay, this too?
for
Is it
some
go?
reason,
Is it,
yeah,
is
for
it,
some reason that aspect
these are
is
recording.
working. Yes.
Okay, all right.
Just the speakers don't seem to be working right.
Okay. So we don't know if we're going to get sound back tonight. So what actually I'm going to encourage when we get to the Torah service, for those who might have a harder time hearing our confirmands when they chant Torah or when they're reading their speeches, we have a lot of empty seats in these first 3 rows. So what I would encourage you to move up, okay? But if you say after the service, I couldn't hear a thing, you've been warned, okay? So during the Hakafah, when the Torah is marching around the congregation, feel free to move yourselves and bring yourself to the center if you'd like. And if your hearing is a little bit better, maybe you'll go back a little bit further. We know it's not easy for a lot of folks here. So in just a moment, we will begin our Torah service, and you'll be able to hear our confirmands chant Torah very beautifully. Before we begin, however, I'm going to I'd like to invite Eden Zaffron to introduce our Torah service and tell about the Czech Torah.
The Torah we will be chanting from tonight is not like the rest of our Torah scrolls because this one has an unusual history that precedes its time at our temple. Long before this Torah came to us, it resided in the town of České Budějovice in the Czech Republic. After World War II broke out, In 1492, Dr. Stein of a Jewish religious community in Prague wrote to all Jewish communities asking for all Torahs and ritual items to be sent to the Jewish Museum in Prague in order to protect them. Our Torah, Czech Torah number 1067, came from the town of Českobudějovice, located in the Sudetenland in southern Bohemia. After being stored in the museum in Prague for the remainder of the war, over 1,500 Torah scrolls were moved from Prague to the London Westminster Synagogue in 1964. All the scrolls have since been distributed on permanent loan to Jewish communities all over the world. Some temples receive Torah scrolls that are unfit for use and thus keep the scroll in a display case for public view. However, we are lucky in that we received a Torah that is still in usable condition. We use this special scroll for our B'nai Mitzvah and confirmation services. By still using our Torah as it once was in Českobudějovice, we carry on the tradition of the young people there who became B'nai Mitzvah and confirmed to us. This Torah, along with 1,563 others of its kind, is a symbol of hope and perseverance to us all and to all future generations as well.
I invite you to please turn to page 362. Page 362 as we continue with Seder Kiryat HaTorah, our service for the reading and chanting of Torah.
אין כמוך באלוהים, אדוני, ואין כמעשיך. מלכות המלכות, כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני עוז לא ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. אב הרחמים, אצלי ברצונך,
Shabbat Shalom. Along with my classmates, I will be reading the Ten Commandments, which is a special portion for confirmation. I read the fourth commandment, which says, "Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. 6 days you shall work, and on the seventh you shall rest. The Lord blessed the Sabbath and made it holy." But what actually makes the Sabbath holy? There are lots of answers to that question. Some say that the Sabbath is holy because it is the day that God rested after creating the world. But is that enough to make it holy? Shabbat is sacred time, different from the rest of the week. But it only becomes sacred if you make it sacred. Like the question, if a tree falls in a forest but no one is there to hear it, does it make a sound? If no one makes Shabbat, does Shabbat actually exist? Shabbat doesn't just happen. You have to make Shabbat. My family makes Shabbat by making Friday night and Saturday different from the rest of the week. My dad travels to work, but he often makes an effort to be home by Friday night every week because our main celebration of Shabbat is on our Friday night dinner. We turn off our electronic devices and we start dinner with the ritual observances and blessings. We light the Shabbat candles, followed by the wishes for a good Shabbos. My dad gives my brother and me our blessings. Then we do Kiddush and the washing the hands, and finally motzi over my mom's homemade challah. When we make Shabbat every week, it sets the rhythm of Jewish life. Ahad Ha'am said, "More than the Jewish people has kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jewish people." This is true. Shabbat is a weekly reminder of being Jewish, a reminder of who you are and the kind of person you should be trying to be. Like keeping kosher is a reminder of one's Jewish identity every time one eats. The Sabbath can act as a reminder of one's Jewish identity through the rituals and traditions that one's family may observe. We create sanctity during Shabbat by those things that we do, like lighting candles and doing Kiddush, but also by the things we do not do on Shabbat. The idea is to get all the preparations for Shabbat done before the Sabbath, so that during the Sabbath, you can take time away from your daily work to do special Shabbos activities that are not about changing the world, but appreciating the world as God has created it. These include having time to think, reflect, and study, visiting friends and family, and going for a walk out in nature. Sanctifying Shabbat requires ceremonies that mark both the beginning and end of the day. The day starts with lighting candles and ends by extinguishing the braided Havdalah candle. In both ceremonies, the fruit of the vine is tasted. Marking the beginning and end of the Sabbath in this way helps to sanctify it and make it holy. These rituals help to distinguish the Sabbath from the rest of the week.
You can follow along with Alyssa, Adam, and Eden's chanting of the Torah on the Torah text and translation sheet that we have here. Ya'amdu la'aliyah la Torah. And for the honor of the Aliyah to the Torah, we call the confirmation class of 5777. Did you touch your tallit yet? Yeah, I did. You guys tallit?
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Vayadaber Elohim et kol hadvarim ha'ele lemor. Anochi Adonai Elohecha asher hotzeiticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mi'beit avadim. Lo yeh lecha Elohim acherim al panai. Lo ta'aseh lecha fesel v'chol temuna asher b'shamayim mima'al v'asher ba'aretz mitachat v'asher ba'mayim mitachat la'aretz. Lo tishtachaveh lahem v'lo tovdim ki anochi Adonai Elohecha Elkanah poked avon avot al banim al shilishim ve'al ribeim lesonai ve'oseh chesed la'alafim le'ohavai ul shamrei mitzvotai lo tisa et shem Adonai Elohecha lashav ki lo yanakeh Adonai et asher yisa et shemo lashav.
Zachor et Yom HaShabbat lekadsho. Sheshet yamim tavod ve'asita chol melachtecha. Vayom HaShavi Shabbat l'Adonai Elohecha lo taseh chol melacha ata uvincha uvitecha avdecha ve'amatcha uvhemtecha ve'gercha asher bisharecha. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz et hayam ve'et kol asher bam vayonach bayom hashvi al kain bayrach Adonai et yom hashabbat v'kodshehu.
Kabed et avicha ve'et imecha, leman yarichu niyamecha, al ha'adama, asher Adonai Elohecha noten lach. Lo tirtzach, lo tinaf, lo tignov, lo ta'anet v're'echa eid shaker. Lo tachmod be'et re'echa, lo tachmod eshet re'echa. Ve'avdo v'amoto, ve'avdo v'amoto, ve'shoro v'hamoro, V'chol asher lereyecha. V'chol ha'am ro'im et hakolot ve'et halapidim. Ve'et kol hashofar ve'et hachar ashen vayar ha'am vayanu vayamdu merachok.
God spoke all these words, saying, I, the Lord, am your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods besides me. You shall not make for yourself a sculptured image or any likeness of what is in the heavens above, or on the earth below, or in the waters under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am an impassioned God, visiting the guilt of the parents upon the children, upon the third and upon the fourth generations of those who reject me, but showing kindness to the 1,000th generation of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not swear falsely by the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not clear one who swears falsely by his name.
You shall not swear falsely. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But on the seventh day is a Sabbath of the Lord your God. You shall not do any work. you, your son or daughter, your male or female slave, your cattle, or the stranger who is within your settlements. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven, earth, and sea, but all that is in them. He rested on the seventh day, and therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
Honor your father and your mother, that you may long endure in the land that the Lord your God is assigning to you. You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male or female slave, or his ox, or his mule, or anything that is your neighbor's. All the people witnessed the thunder and the lightning, the blare of the horn and the mountain smoking, and when the people saw it, they fell back and stood at a distance.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
I invite you to please turn to page 370, and please stand as I lift the Torah, and you can see the verses of the Ten Commandments that they just chanted so beautifully.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה, וזאת התורה אשר שם משה, לפני בני ישראל, לפני בני ישראל. וזאת התורה, וזאת התורה, וזאת התורה, וזאת התורה, וזאת התורה, וזאת התורה.
Please be seated. One of the features of our confirmation service is giving each of our confirmands an opportunity to share a short reflection on what this moment in their lives mean to them and perhaps what they've learned throughout their course of study here at Temple Bethel, whether they started from kindergarten in our very first consecrance or they came a little bit later. Each one of these students has been an important and integral role, part of our Torah school for the last many years. So we'll hear in order from Eden Zaffron, followed by Adam Paul, and then Alyssa Wagner.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you all for sharing in this special evening with me and my classmates. To me, confirmation is much more than just one evening. Confirmation is the culmination of all my years of Jewish education from kindergarten through the 10th grade. However, confirmation is also not the end of my learning either. I know that it is just the beginning. I think of confirmation as a sort of diploma and that it certifies the completion of your education. However, I also believe that being confirmed is sort of like an agreement, where you're trusted to explore the world on your own and apply your knowledge with a wider perspective. The one most important lesson that I gained from my Jewish education, one that really stood out to me, would be the lesson of responsibility. I learned that as Jews, we have a responsibility not just for ourselves, but also for our community and for the whole world. I remember that when I was much younger, after Friday night Shabbat services, I would finish my treats from the oneg in the social hall quickly and go back inside. I had always noticed that congregants left behind in the pews the little pamphlets that they had received before services started. After every service, I would go to pick up the pamphlets, straighten out the sederim, and make sure the synagogue was neat and tidy. In a way, even as a little kid, I was taking responsibility not just for myself, but also for my community by cleaning up after everyone. The concept of responsibility has been an important part of my Jewish education. As I grew older, I was introduced to the Jewish concept of tikkun olam, or repairing the world. I believe that tikkun olam is the responsibility to repair the world and make it a better place. We shouldn't just stand by and wish for the world to get better. We actually have to do something about it, or as I see it, take responsibility for the future. I hope that as I continue growing and learning, I will be able to take responsibility and repair the world one step at a time. Thank you.
My learning this year has contributed to my understanding of Judaism in many ways. I've learned many things about the Jewish faith, Jewish relations with other cultures, and how to be an active Jew. But the primary lesson I learned this year is the versatility of Judaism. Throughout the many discussions I've had with my classmates this year, I've seen how we are all Jewish, yet we all have different perspectives on what being Jewish means to each of us. Some of our core principles of the Jewish faith include a God, a Torah, and how to observe Jewish holidays. This year, I have seen that my peers have different opinions about what God really is. Something we've been discussing in class recently is the question, is God omnipotent, all-powerful, omniscient, all-knowing, or omnipresent, everywhere? Some believe that God controls everything but doesn't know everything. This is evident when God brings the flood over the entire earth and only Noah and his family survive. Afterwards, God realizes that he has made a mistake and puts the rainbow in the sky as a sign he will never destroy the entire human race again. A presence that is all-knowing would not make mistakes, but in this story, as well as other, God is clearly fallible. Others think that God is omnipresent and omniscient, but not omnipotent. Some people like to think they can control their own destiny, and that God can only nudge the outcome of their lives. There are many other perspectives and views of what God is and isn't. The Torah means different things to different people. Some say that nothing in the Torah ever happened, while others believe that it is a literal depiction of what happened. Still, other people believe that only parts are true, and some think that it is a collection of stories designed to teach good moral values. Some think that the Torah is literally the word of God, while others think that it was written over a long period of time by many different people. Jews are the people of the book, but we all interpret the book differently. Even the same person can view the Torah differently over time. That's why we read the Torah every year, not because the Torah changes, but because we change and what we see in the Torah changes. Many of my classmates do not share my ways of observing Jewish holidays. For example, I celebrate Sukkot with my family by constructing our sukkah and eating dinner in it. Besides building and eating in the sukkah, other people do things like shaking the lulav and other ritual blessings. Others also sleep in it. There's great controversy over these few topics I've named, and there are many more topics like these. But throughout the many opinions, there is one fact, that all these ideas are equally Jewish and welcomed under the tent of the Jewish conversation. There's an old saying that if you have 9 Jews and put them in one room, you'll end up with 10 opinions. This is funny, but also true and great. There is room for many different points of view under the tent of Judaism.
Shabbat Shalom. Who am I is a question that can really get you thinking. One day, Rabbi passed around typed cards that read, I am ... I wrote, I am a runner, I am artistic, and I am Jewish. That seemed pretty simple. Then one day with Cantor, we discussed the difference between being a Jewish American and an American Jew. Now that had me stumped. Which one am I? It wasn't until a few weeks ago, writing this, that I started to really analyze that question. So I asked myself, how does being Jewish have an effect on how I live my life? For one selective activity, Debbie taught us how to make matzah roka. It seemed easy enough, so I decided to make some for my track team because we had a meet later that week. I mean, teenagers love food and eat a lot, just ask my parents. So I thought they'd like the matzah roka, and I was right. Turns out, making a big batch isn't as easy as I thought. Chocolate was everywhere. A lot of cleaning. When I passed it out, I explained that matzah was like a cracker. I was surprised to find that some people remembered that I brought matzah in the 6th grade to my history class during our Israel unit, but it was just plain matzah, so it wasn't as big of a hit. Surprise, surprise. I am a Jewish runner. You may not have guessed, but I have a love for art. I find myself incorporating Jewish elements into some of my projects. Last year in art at my high school, we were supposed to write our own name with our own block letter font design using colored pencils. I tried working with Alyssa, but it just didn't please my eye, so I had to scratch that. I ended up playing around with my Hebrew name, Malka, which turned out much better. I've also loved collaborating with Debbie on certificate designs. I am a Jewish artist. I love being a madrika on Sundays, and when I can, popping in on Thursdays. I love watching the students improve, overcome those challenging Hebrew words, and hear their points of view in group discussions. And then I get to sit around a table with other teens and dive into various topics. Reading from the Torah, beginning in the Aleph class, Shabbat services, latke dinners, my sister and I becoming a bat mitzvah on this bima, Temple Bethel has become my second home. Besides school and the grocery store, I think Temple Bethel was the first place I could drive to without Siri. I've come to realize that a lot of what I do is linked to Judaism in one way or another. So, who am I? I know my answer may change and will evolve as I grow, perhaps not physically in height, but as time goes on. But as of today, I am a granddaughter, cousin, niece, daughter, and sister. I am a runner and an artist. I am an American Jew.
Thank you, Eden and Adam and Alyssa, for your beautiful and thoughtful reflections. They have inspired me. They've inspired your teachers. I know they have inspired everyone who is here tonight as well. And we thank you for sharing so openly and beautifully just a little bit about who you are and insights to who you are right now at this moment in your lives. So it's my opportunity to say a few words to you and to the congregation. When God began to create heaven and earth, the earth being unformed and void, with darkness over the surface of the deep and a wind from God sweeping over the water, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Thus begins the Torah, its first verse of the first chapter of the first book, Genesis. Before God began creating the world as we know it today, it was in a state of chaos. Over the course of 6 days, through God's words and actions, God created order from the chaos. For the past 5,777 years, it has been our responsibility to maintain order in times of chaos. We've tried our best, but with mixed results. We've been more successful in this endeavor when we looked to the Torah, the sacred texts, traditions, and values of our people provide the tools for maintaining order through the chaos. So often when we experience chaos or upheaval, we turn to Scripture to help bring about order, stability, and comfort to our lives. Think about these selected words from the 23rd Psalm. God is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures. God leads me beside still waters and restores my soul. You are with me, your rod and staff comfort me. Some may look to the prophet Jeremiah, whose words we read this week in our traditional Haftarah. Jeremiah preaches, "Blessed is the one who trusts in God, whose trust is the eternal one alone. Be like a tree planted by waters, sending forth its roots by a stream. It does not sense the coming of heat. Its leaves are ever fresh. It has no care in a year of drought. It does not cease to yield fruit." Or the declaration that comes at the end of the Haftarah, "Heal me, O God, and let me be healed. Save me, and let me be saved." Torah can also offer guidance that brings about order through the chaos, that brings about order through the lessons it teaches. Our confirmands just chanted the 10 Commandments, 10 of the 613 mitzvot that guide and create order in our lives. However, if we weren't celebrating confirmation tonight, we'd be reading the last two portions from the book of Leviticus, the portions Bahar and Bechukotai. These portions, too, speak of the order that we maintain. Principles of Shemitah, letting the land rest every 7 years, and Yovel, the Jubilee year, every 50th year when the land is returned to the original landowners, helped maintain order. The principle behind returning the land is to prevent the polarization of society into two classes, the wealthy and powerful on the one hand, and the permanently impoverished on the other. Rabbi Harold Kushner explains the religious assumptions behind the principles of Yovel, of returning the land to the original owner. First, because all the earth and all of its inhabitants belong to God, human beings cannot possess either the land or the people in perpetuity. And second, no human being should be condemned to permanent servitude. When society is spiraling into chaos, Yovel helps to bring order to the chaos. And just as the first chapter of the book of Genesis is intended to bring order to the world, the book of Leviticus, which concludes the Shabbat, brings order to our people through its laws and precepts that guide our lives. So what, you might be asking, does all this talk about chaos and order have to do with these three fine young people sitting in front of me? Well, I think it has a lot to teach us. Any parent of a teenager or any observer of teenagers knows that oftentimes their lives are indeed sheer chaos. Whether it is the result of maintaining an impossibly busy schedule, navigating difficult relationships in and out of school, or coping with the psychological and spiritual development that often tests boundaries and relationships at home. These years, for some, can be filled with chaos and disorder. However, for many teens, the structure and order that their faith community provides is essential. In some cases, our tradition, through its emphasis on Shabbat and other rituals, has helped keep our teens firmly planted. Those who participate in the ritual of study by coming to Torah school after becoming bar bat mitzvah often find greater order through the chaos. Now, while I think that, like most teens, our three confirmands navigate busy schedules, and while I believe that their lives can be chaotic at times, and their parents would probably attest to that as well, I also believe that they are more or less grounded and orderly. Their parents maintain strong values in their homes and encourage their children to learn and absorb the values of our people and tradition that they have learned at home and in our confirmation department. Oftentimes, these values intersect at many points. Even the basic and not always easy commitment to come to Torah school every Sunday afternoon to learn in communities with other peers is an example of bringing order, routine, and even ritual to our busy and chaotic lives. The commitment and dedication that you, Adam, Alyssa, and Eden have demonstrated over the years is extraordinary. I truly hope and believe that what you've learned and absorbed has seeped into the very essence of your being. I hope that when life feels chaotic, you can turn to your friends, your tradition, your texts, your teachers to help find that equilibrium you need to balance your many competing priorities. I hope that order is always within arm's length. Eden, Alyssa, and Adam, individually and collectively, you are gifts. Gifts to me, to Cantor Davidson, to Debbie Rowe, gifts to your younger classmates, many of whom are here tonight, with whom you willingly and openly shared a combined 8th through 10th grade class this year. Gifts to your families who love you unconditionally. Gifts to our community who benefit in ways seen and unseen through your contributions to Temple life. When we come to the end of a book of Torah, we declare these words, Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek. Be strong, and let us be strengthened. The three of you demonstrate strength, intellectual, physical, and emotional strength to yourselves. You strengthen us, and hopefully we help strengthen you. Declaring Chazak is a way of saying more power to you. As you conclude this stage of your formal Torah school learning and determine your own course in the years ahead, I hope and pray that you will use your strength to mine the Torah and all of Jewish wisdom and all of our tradition, and continue to discover our tradition's deep wisdom, its sublime beauty, and its enduring power, which can bring great meaning to our lives. I hope and pray that you will use your strength to build and sustain communities rooted in the prophetic call of our people to care for the needy, the lonely, the disenfranchised, and the outsider, and help them find a place among us. I hope and pray that you will use your strength to perpetuate the best of what our people and our tradition have to offer the world, and to bring those gifts to others as you share the beauty of Judaism. Together, may we be strengthened, forming our link to Torah, to tradition, to community, and to the enduring values that guide our lives. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will. Amen.
Let me just look on you for a minute. So, I've known the three of you a really long time. And I've watched you grow into these young adults that are sitting here in front of us today. And as you spoke today, what I heard from you was a maturity beyond anything that I realized even existed yet. Back when you were in the 8th grade, and again just a few weeks ago when we were studying our God unit, I said to all of you, I said, at the end of all of this study, I'm not here to tell you what to believe. But what I hope is that your Judaism will have a vote. Will have a vote in your life. And what I heard from the three of you today is not only does it have a vote, but it has a voice. And it has a voice that you are ready to go out into the world and use to bring about change, to bring about blessing. This is a strange world that we live in. And maybe it's the kind of world that our prophets lived in back in their times. And maybe what we really need today is another prophet. Maybe what we really need today is one of you. Because as you stood up here today, you did not just teach, you did not just tell us a little bit about yourself, but you prophesied to us about what you have learned and how it is a part of you and how it can be a part of all of us. You are such a blessing. You are no longer the cute little bright-eyed girl that would come in here and clean up the pews, or the little boy that would run through the pews and hide from me because your bubby was in the other room having good oneg and I was still in here cleaning up and you thought it was kind of fun to make faces. Or that sweet little girl who was kind of shy, but so sweet and always coming up and giving hugs and love. You are now all of that and so, so much more. And so I offer you this blessing on this day. little out of order, so keep going forward. There you go. Rolled out of bed today, turned on the news. It turned my head around. I can't believe our leaders, the ones we choose, to settle shaky ground. Walked down the street today, my neighborhood, and cars were screaming by. The stores are closing down now and locked up good. It makes me wanna cry. We need a prophet, need one today, just like the ones before. One with a vision to lead the way and open up the doors. There's the prophet Isaiah, and there's Deborah too. Amos, Joel, and Elijah, but the only one to be counted on is you, the prophet you. I read the prophet's wisdom and know the way. It's right in front of me. Then I read the daily paper. What's left to say? It's all a mystery. I keep my eyes wide open, my picture clear. My dreams are wide awake. I've never felt the world so near. We've got so much at stake. So we need a prophet, need one today, just like the ones before. One with a vision to lead the way and open up the door. There's the prophet Isaiah, and there's Deborah too. Amos, Joel, and Elijah, but the only one to be counted on is you, the prophet you. the prophets you. Continue to go out there and prophesy and share what you know with others, and this world will be a better place. Mazel tov.
We're very grateful to have several members of our temple leadership represented here on the bima, including our president, Mark Kaiser, our president of Sisterhood, Carol Lebenthal, representing the Board of Education, Ria Zaks, our director of Education and Programs, Debbie Rowe, and representing our Speedy leadership, Soretta Gladson, also representing our Board of Directors. We're not going to hear from all of them. We're going to I'd like to invite Mark Kaiser, representing all of our leadership, to say a few words before we offer present a few gifts to our confirmands.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
In case you're wondering, you can rest assured that we did pay our electric bill this year. I promise you we did. Thank you, the three of you, for such beautiful Torah reading and such beautiful reflections tonight. Being asked to participate in this annual confirmation service is a unique honor that I've truly cherished over the last few years. To Adam, Melissa, and Eden, I'm honored sharing the bima with you and helping to celebrate this important milestone. All three of you are very special young people in our community. We're very proud of you and the great accomplishments that you've achieved already. You show little fear taking on tasks and activities, both at school and outside of school. You put yourselves in unfamiliar settings in order to learn and grow. Your leadership shows in your own individual ways with humility and focus. All three of you lead not by pounding your chests or screaming from the highest mountains, but rather by demonstrating your competence, your maturity, your inner strength, and your independence. These qualities will suit you very well as you continue through your high school years and well beyond them. My hope as the president of this community is that your leadership potential takes you toward your own meaningful expression of Judaism as adults. In each one of you, as you grow into adulthood, I see you capable of standing before a congregation such as this, maybe even this one, and representing synagogue leadership's highest level, just as I'm doing tonight. I look forward to seeing that day. This confirmation service shows that you've demonstrated a strong commitment to our Jewish people and our faith. Through your actions, you've shown your dedication to the values of Jewish learning and living a Jewish life. As you continue to connect yourselves to our faith and our ancestors, I hope you'll remember the strong foundation that you built right here at Temple Bethel, and the warmth and the support of your Temple Bethel network. Thank you for all you've added to our community and all that you and your families will continue to add in the future. And speaking of families, I want to offer special thanks to your parents for their deep commitment to Jewish learning. You've helped your children experience the first part of their lifelong Jewish journeys. Julie and Larry Paul, Cynthia and Steve Wagner, Karen and Scott Zaffron. I know these years of Torah school haven't come without sacrifice, or perhaps even open conflict. But thank you for all you've done to create a Jewish home for Adam, Alyssa, and Eden. Your direction has been essential to bringing these very special teens to this day. Mazel tov to our confirmands and also to their parents, and Shabbat Shalom.
This time I'd like to invite those who are on that side of the bima to join us over here as we present a few gifts to Adam and Eden and Alyssa. Just to let you know what we have. From Sisterhood, you will be receiving not only a golden gram, but your very own Tanakh, the JPS Hebrew English Tanakh that contains the Torah, the prophets, and the writings. So these prophetic texts that we were talking to in a moment. You guys come back. I just want to go this way. We're going to go down this way here. Okay. Also have a couple of books from our temple leadership, and for me, we have this book called I Am Jewish, Personal Reflections Inspired by the Last Words of Daniel Pearl. We spent a lot of time this past year talking about Jewish identity, and there's some great short essays in here from people famous and not famous who share what it means to be a Jew in America and in the world today. And a book that came out recently, we referred to this a few times over the course of the year during our weekly text study. It's called Text Messages. Text Messages, a Torah Commentary for Teens. Short divrei Torah that you can just help to add some meaning to your lives. And the last thing, you also get your confirmation certificates, but I just want to just show that for many years we had used kind of the standard URJ confirmation certificate until Debbie asked Alyssa, you have some artistic skill. How about creating a new confirmation certificate? What? Yeah? She what? She helps push the buttons. There you go, indeed. So, but we have this beautiful confirmation certificate, which Alyssa herself designed. It was we inaugurated it last year, and now she actually gets to have one of her own creations that she'll be able to have for her as well. So we have these lovely gifts that we want to present to you. Let me just get things in order here. Hold on one second. And I'm going to do something that I think Eden will very much appreciate, because Eden is a Z. We want to welcome to the Bima to accept her gifts, Eden Zaffron first. You're welcome.
My sisterhood, we're very,
Alyssa Wagner.
sisterhood's very proud.
And Adam Paul. Make your way down the line.
Sisterhood is very proud of you.
As we prepare to return the Sefer Torah to the Ark and begin to conclude our service, I invite you to please turn to page 374. Page 374, and please stand if you are able. Yehalelu et Shem Adonai ki nisgav shemo levado. Let us praise the name of Adonai, for God's name alone is exalted. We pray responsibly.
When Torah entered the world, freedom entered it. The whole Torah exists only to establish peace.
Its highest teaching is love and kindness. What is hateful to you, do not do to any person.
That is the whole Torah. All the rest is commentary. Go and learn it. Those who study Torah are the true guardians of civilization.
Honoring one another, doing acts of kindness, and making peace. These are our highest duties. But the study of Torah is equal to them all, because it leads to them all.
Let us learn in order to teach. Let us learn in order to do. It's my pleasure to invite Soretta Gladson, representing our Board of Directors tonight, to share a few announcements on behalf of our Board of Directors.
Shabbat shalom. All I can say is wow, 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 wow. Wow, and a little bit of wow. I've worked with all three of these confirmands over here as a madracha in our Torah school. They're amazing. They're just absolutely amazing. Anything you throw at them, they can handle. A blackout, no problem. It's my genuine pleasure to be here tonight representing both the Board of Directors and our temple youth groups. I have to say thank you to the parents. As teenagers, we love food, so thank you for the oneg. We have a lot of great activities outside of Friday nights, and I hope to see you at many of them. First of all, next Friday night, we have musical Shabbat, which begins at 6:30. The Moody Jews are always a riot, so I would highly suggest coming. On Tuesday, May 30th, we have our Shavuot celebration, which begins at 6:45 for our festival service and prayers of Yizkor. If you would like to have a loved one added to the list of Yizkor, please contact RCB, Rabbi Chuckles Briskin. At 7:30, our Shavuot evening of learning and discussion will be led by Rabbi Briskin and Rabbi Schuldenfrei from Congregation Ner Tamid. Please RSVP with Carrie so that the script is always a suggestion. Sometimes there are typos. This is a case. RSVP to Carrie. And finally, on Wednesday, May 31st, we have Temple's annual meeting at 7 p.m. in All Manual Hall. We'll learn about the state of the synagogue and vote for the proposed slate of Board of Director members. If you're unable to attend, please mail or drop off your ballot that was sent out this week. I'm still impressed by these three. I feel like I can go to college, and I'm leaving our congregation's temple youth in wonderful, beautiful, intelligent, artistic hands, and I can rest easy knowing that we'll continue to have fabulous youth programs, right? And I know you three will continue to lead our congregation and step up to the plate whenever needed, whenever the lights go out and we need to project. I know you guys can do that. Shabbat shalom.
Sandy? Where's Sandy? Yeah, you're still taking. Yeah, okay, yeah. I want to make. I just thought. I was like, we're not talking about it. It's okay. So I wasn't sure about that. So one more thing. Tomorrow night. Tell me the time again, Sandy. I don't have the thing. At 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. Our first ever Temple Beth El square dance. There you go. Cantor Davidson is ready. Please. Thank God we will have a professional teacher and square dance caller tomorrow night. Should be a very fun evening. Sandy and members of our membership committee have been working really hard to put on this program. I myself am very remiss. I'm going to be at a wedding up in Camarillo, so I won't be able to join you. I'm so sorry, but I know you're going to have a great, great evening. Cantor Davidson will be here to hold down the fort and do a couple two-steps or whatever. Who knows? But
I got my hat.
there you go.
My boots. I'm ready.
Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. We hope this is going to be a really fun night, and thank you for all the work and putting it together. And then just again, following the conclusion of our service, after we're done singing Oseh Shalom, please let those of us on the bima recess out of the bima, and then you can join us in Al Manuel Hall. They'll get out of their robes, they'll get back into civilian clothes, and we'll greet you inside there in a few moments. Our concluding prayers begin on page 586 with Elenu. Oh, shoot. Okay. No, we're just, okay. Page 586, please stand.
עלינו לשבח לדור הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשה כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה.
seated.
Please turn to page 593. The light of life is a finite flame, like the Shabbat candles. Life is kindled, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty, but soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance, and our life burns down in gutters. There is an end to the flames, we see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory, slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life.
Before we join together to recite Kaddish Yatom on page 598, if you are observing Shiva the first 7 days of remembrance, or Shaloshim the first 30 days, or are observing the Yortzeit of a loved one, when I read that person's name, please stand and remain standing until all the names have been shared. Then together we will stand as a community to recite these sacred words together. We are observing the first 7 days of mourning for Stanford Opner, beloved father of Bonnie Lewis. And we continue to observe the first 30 days of remembrance for Valen Watson and Marcia Dunn. And we continue to journey through the first year of memory for Adele Wallach. And we remember those who died at this season in years past, whose Yortzeit fell this past week, and whom we remember by name tonight. Ronnie Belzer, Alfred Cohn, Frida Dubin, Eugene Feingold, Dorothy Felberg Fenster, Harold Fenton, Saul Gabin, Moses Menachem Gallant, Edward Herman, Joseph Herman, Albert P. Hirschman, Robert Jackman, Goldie Katanik, Lionel Richard Kay, Isaac Landy, Edward Loveman, Louis Mataris, Sadie Richards, Harry Rosenkrantz, Louis Rubenfeld, Nathan Sable, Harry Sachs, Rosemarie Schwartz, Malvina Schwimmer, Abraham Siegel, Donald Patrick Shannon, Lottie Schneer, Irving Sobel, Julius Taus, Rosalind Terfansky, Jenny Tufeld, Celia Lewis Wall, Sarah Henya Zaks. If you are remembering someone this Shabbat and I neglected to share the name, please stand and share the name aloud. Thank you. Eli Hurwitz. Thank you. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. Please stand if you are able as we join together.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
B'alma divrach erotei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon u'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach me'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen.
May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say,
Amen. Please put your Sidurim down and reach out to one another. We conclude with Oseh Shalom.
Roma.
recess? Recess music? Bob, recess music?
All right, Shabbat Shalom. So I think I figured out what needs to be done to make this work.